100.
10:34 back on the Sports Fix. You're listening to North Central Florida sports leader ESPN Radio and ESPNGo1.com. Adam Reardon, Chris Doring, Scott Brantley with you on this Thursday morning. We turn our attention to Coral Gables and the University of Miami. And when we do that, on Thursdays, we talk to our good friend Danny Money of CanesInSight.com. Danny, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Awesome, man. How about you guys?
Doing well. Sort of different pep in your step over the last few weeks, as there is mine. No question about it. For lack of a better term, the cardiac Canes sort of do it again there. Another nail-biter versus North Carolina State. If for nothing else, these games have been entertaining down the stretch.
Oh, no question. And, last year the games were entertaining as well. But Miami was usually on the losing end of these close games. They'd get down, they'd make a run, and they'd come up a little bit short. So you see the progress that Miami is winning these kind of games. They're getting to an early start. Obviously the defense not great, so they're allowing teams to come back in the game, but then they're closing, and particularly Stephen Morris playing excellent in the fourth quarter.
You mentioned Stephen Morris. I was just about to ask you about that. Obviously, throws for an ACC record, 556 yards last week against NC State. I've never been all that impressed with Stephen Morris, and watching him, I know prior to the season there was a little bit of question in who was going to be the guy there. Are you surprised at the type of season that he's had to this point in time, and specifically being able to set the record throwing for that many yards against NC State?
You never expect someone to throw over 566 yards, but honestly, I'm not surprised by the success Morris is having. I've been extremely high on him, having watched him in practice, having watched his development. I just think he has rare talent throwing the football as far as his arm strength. He can be inaccurate at times, but I think that's just inconsistency in his technique. I think he flashes some natural accuracy, especially down the field. Great head on his shoulders, and he can move. I'm not surprised that he's having success. Now, the real challenge for Stephen Morris this week is not buying into his own hype. When you make throws like he made in that NC State game, I don't know if you've seen the highlights. I mean, these were like Brett Favre-type throws. You start thinking that you are that guy. And going against a team like Notre Dame that plays a really disciplined cover two and really protects those young corners, they're going to take away that deep ball that he was so successful with against NC State. So the challenge for him is to calm down, not think he's that guy and has to win the game by himself, and really take what Notre Dame gives him. So we'll see the next step in his development on Saturday.
Danny, coming off that conference win, and that's the most important thing that happened in that NC State game. And I'm glad nobody was looking. I don't think anybody was looking ahead to this Notre Dame game, this matchup that's going to be where you are, front and center. You're going to be nationally televised. You're going to be in a sold-out Soldier Field. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better to showcase in this situation. So they got to go up here with an A game. And I got a good feeling with that tandem, at running back and the way Morris is playing. I mean, this has got to be the game that they put it all into. But then again, you go back to your conference play after that. So I look for them to be ready, and I think Al Golden will have this team jacked up come Saturday.
Well, that would be a change from the first time they were in a similar environment, which was Kansas State, where they went on the road playing a top 10 team, a real disciplined team, and they didn't show up. So if they are ready, that would be certainly a sign that they are progressing and that Coach Golden is having them learn from their mistakes. Now, the interesting thing about this game is that you have Miami's strength, which is their passing game, going against Notre Dame's weakness, which is their cornerback play. And then, obviously, Notre Dame's weakness, which is their offensive explosiveness, going against Miami's weakness in that defense. So, which one's going to give, which unit is going to step up and play kind of above their talent level or above the level they've been playing thus far, that will determine the game. And it could be an exciting game. I think it should be a better game than Kansas State, but Notre Dame's a very talented team, so we shall see.
Danny Money, CanesInsight.com, our guest here on the Sports Fix. You mentioned the defense. Obviously, with the amount of yards and points that they give up in games, still a liability, but there may be a silver lining to that gray cloud. The fact that they caused 6 turnovers, or were fortunate enough to get 6 turnovers, that at least has to be something that the coaching staff has to be excited about, because last year really didn't turn over a whole lot of teams.
Oh, it's a huge departure. I mean, going from the 110s to I think they're now 11th in turnovers created from last year. It's a huge jump, and it really has helped me to win these games. I hate to use an NFL example, but it's almost like the New England Patriots last year were last in the league in defense, but were very high in turnovers. They were able to get to the Super Bowl. New Orleans Saints a couple years before that. So that can mitigate some of the youth on defense. Now, some of it is luck, but they've had a ton of fumble recoveries. They're stripping the ball, but sometimes the ball might not bounce your way. We'll see how that factors out. But certainly they're going to need to improve their consistency on defense and not have to rely on turnovers if they're going to beat a team like Notre Dame, if they're going to challenge teams like Florida State and Virginia Tech in conference.
In terms of that defense and making some adjustments, I know that you get your mid linebacker right this game back, right? I mean, this is an opportunity to be at closer to full strength than you've been for the last couple of games. But any other personnel moves that we can look for maybe being different in this week against Notre Dame as opposed to maybe what we've seen in the first month of the season?
I really think the big shift you'll see in personnel is a little less substitutions on the offensive line. There's 9 offensive linemen that played in the NC State game. It was smoldering out there. NC State was cramping up. So there was a lot of rotation of Miami's offensive line. Miami does have good depth on the offensive line, probably their deepest position. But I think in this game you're going to see a shorter rotation. Chantrell Henderson will probably get most, if not all, of the snaps at right tackle, which will be the first time that's happened all year. And, they're just going to go with the unit they have, with their most experienced players and their best players on that offensive line. Because really the key matchup of this game is that Miami's offensive line going against Notre Dame's tremendous defensive line. And if Miami can win some of those one-on-one matchups and run the ball, it'll make Stephen Morris's life a lot easier.
Hey, Danny, final question for you. Got about 30 seconds. Do me a favor. Answer the question that I've heard most this week. Who is this Fentress guy? Who is that?
The walk-on. He plays on the baseball team. Great kid. They did a little special on him last year with the Raising Canes that they do on YouTube. Al Golden loves him. He's about 190 pounds, but he's mean. He's fast. Great special teams player, and he played a ton last week.
Yeah, saw him out there. Had 5 tackles in that game against NC State, and I had to ask the question, too, because I wasn't sure who the hell that guy was. Danny Money, CanesInSight.com, man, the best in the business covering the University of Miami. We look forward to a big game this weekend against Notre Dame. As always, man, appreciate your time and knowledge, and we'll talk to you next week.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Appreciate it. Danny Money, CanesInsight.com. Coming up next, we turn our attention to Tallahassee. Ira Schofel of the Tallahassee Democrat will join us next to talk about the Noles. You're listening to the Sports Fix on ESPN Radio.
The Ocala